Hello and welcome to this very special Monday edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. I am your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I am at Chris Belcher24. The show is at PBW Podcast. And wherever you find your podcast, audio, video, that's where we're going to be. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit the notifications bell on YouTube. That way that you'll get a notification every time we upload a new episode. And our video shows are exclusive to the YouTube channel of bodyslam.net. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you know where we are. Once again, my name is Chris Belcher. Joining me as always is the indie darling, ladies and gentlemen, the young buck, Mr. Andy York. What's up, man?
Not much, man. I'm excited for this episode. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. So let's just jump into it.
This is a special one. Before I introduce our special guest, on Mondays on the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, you heard last week the debut of Old School 101, where Andy quarterbacked the show, and we sort of did like a history lesson of WCW's Halloween Havoc. So if that's your bag, make sure you go back and check that out. It was a lot of fun. You're going to get a lot more of that kind of stuff. But on Mondays, we use Mondays, Andy, as our platform to showcase a bunch of different things that we do here at the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. Old school stuff is one. Interviews is another one, man. And I am really excited to bring on our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the hottest up and coming tag team in the wrestling industry. Yeah, I'm talking about you. It's Hunter Knott. It's Rosario Grillo. It is TSF. What is going on, fellas?
Oh my God, what a beautiful introduction. It's never been what a beautiful. I think, you know what, boys, that was it. Thanks for having us.
We'll see you next week. We'll see y'all on Wednesday. That's it, man. How you guys doing? You doing all right? Hey, listen, if y'all listened to our podcast last week, I talked about doing commentary at CCW. Coastal Championship Wrestling did a show in Nashville, the next chapter, I think is what it was called, the next chapter in Nashville 2 weeks ago now. And I put over TSF and told everybody on the show, I'm not BSing you guys. Go back and listen. I told everybody that the best match of the night was Country Air and TSF. What an incredible tag match it was. And I reached out to the guys. I said, hey, I want to know more about you guys. I think our fans would really enjoy you. So here we are. Thanks for coming on and doing the show, guys. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Speaking of that match, I think we can both say that was our favorite match that we've ever had.
With 100% certainty.
Really?
Yeah, that was by far and away. It was the longest match we've ever done.
Hey, how many matches have we done?
I think it's like 36 now or something.
Okay.
Since March 26, 2021.
2021, that's this year?
This year.
Oh my God.
I think that was 7 months ago.
That's not the Mayan calendar, is it?
No.
Okay. Yes, so, we've been working our butts off, but yes, definitely by far our favorite match so far.
That's awesome. Glad I was on the call for that one. And Andy, I told you, it was the match of the night. And how many minutes over did you guys go again?
Jeez.
As many.
If you think about it, the Cat Spencer match were a little under, so we had to pick up some slack. But then we still went over.
We just helped in everything. We helped. We just
Listen, it's fine when it's flowing and you're having a good match. You just got to let it go. I mean, you asked Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. They were only supposed to go like 15 minutes. And that's the greatest wrestling match of all time. And it would not have been if it had only gone 15 minutes. So
I agree.
That's true.
So I just compared you guys to Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Again, show's over. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, again.
I'm actually going to retire now. Fun.
Great.
Oh, my gosh. Again, so wanted to bring you guys on. These guys are not just stealing the show on the indies, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know, these guys are making regular appearances with AEW Dark, trained by Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall at the Nightmare Factory. First of all, before we go any further, Hunter, I'll start with you. What's that experience been like, training with these two guys at the Nightmare Factory?
It's been incredible. We couldn't have really, I mean, I can speak for you too. We couldn't have asked for a better start into the business. Being trained by two of the best in the world today, like it's an unbelievable experience. QT Marshall, he's had many, many years of work. He is so psychologically good in what he does. And just everything he does is perfect. Cody, on the other hand, been in the business for a while, grew up in the business. So just getting to learn and pick their brains has been an incredible experience. And like I said, we really couldn't have asked for a better start into this business.
Oh yeah, there's no better place to train than the Nightmare Factory. And I'm not taking any credit from other schools. There's a lot of fantastic schools around the country, around the world. But the Nightmare Factory, if it's not the best, it has to be up there.
It's the place you want to be.
Yeah, and just the different styles of learning you have, not only from Cody and QT, but from Glacier. And then we have guest coaches who come in and learning from them, who, whether they've been in the business for 20 years or 5 years, their expertise.
It's always good to learn anything we can learn. Like, we'll take any advice we can get. Like, Glacier has taught us a lot in tag team stuff. So we thank him for a lot of the stuff that we learned, but we can get stuff from everybody.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of Glacier as a tag team expert per se.
His handprint is all over us.
Literally, a lot of the stuff that we've gotten is from him. And actually, Luther has helped us a lot too.
Yes, cannot forget about Luther.
Wow. That's awesome. I know that for those of you out there who are listening or watching, if you're on the bodyslam.net YouTube channel, if you've checked out Roads to the Top, you have heard those guys talk about the Nightmare Factory. I think Cody specifically talked about it in episode 3 and even saw these two faces a couple of times on there. So a couple of cameos from them. But yeah, it was really cool because I watched that episode after I'd already met you guys. I was like, hey, I know them. I know those guys.
That's kind of how it was for us too. We were on the team. We were like, oh, hey, wait, that's us.
But it's natural for us to be on TV. I mean, like we said, we've been on, like you said, Dark, Elevation. We've appeared on Dynamite, accompanying Cody to the ring. In my family, just being on the big screen runs in the family. I see back there, you have Andy, you have Thor's hammer, Captain America's shield. My cousin is Crossbones.
Really?
Yes, Frank Grillo.
Wow.
He was in the Marvel franchise. My cousin. So,
that's
just
awesome.
Yeah, it's just, it runs in the DNA of the Grillos.
Yeah. That is really cool. I did not know that.
Speaking of your looks, I have to throw this out there. Has anybody ever told you look like Johnny Gargano?
God, I knew it. Okay. So, good. Yes. Many times, and it's a problem, and it's been an even bigger problem when we have teamed up, because if you look at us side by side, we're the way. Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory. There it is.
You do very much favor Austin Theory. That's really funny. Wow. I did not put that together.
Wow. But honestly, to me, that's a compliment. Johnny's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Him versus Andrade at NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. I was there for it live. It is my favorite match that I've seen live, and it is my top 3 all-time favorite matches. So
that's really
compared to Johnny in any way, I will take that.
That's funny that you say that. My favorite match that I've seen live also has Johnny Gargano, but it was Johnny and Adam Cole, 2 out of 3 falls, NXT TakeOver New York. When Johnny won the title, is just the roof came off. It was, not to get too far on a tangent, but it was amazing to see the way they turned that crowd because it was so pro Adam Cole to begin with. Yep. But by the end of the night, it was all about Gargano. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame the crowd for one, Bay. I mean,
right.
Adam's one of the best wrestlers in the world. He's very elite nowadays. So,
yeah.
Those two together, phenomenal.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. One of the questions that we have to ask our guests, and we want to make sure that everybody who is listening and watching understands that we don't bring people on just to BS. We don't bring people on that don't know what they're talking about. We don't bring in guys just because they say they're training at the Nightmare Factory. Okay. We don't just bring people on. We bring on wrestling fans because this podcast is for the fans, by the fans. So you two are no different. So we always start, I know we're kind of in the weeds already, but we always really start talking about your guys' wrestling fandom. Where did the wrestling bug first bite you? What attracted you to the business? How long have you been watching? What are your influences? just tell your story. What got you into the business?
So ours is a little different, obviously, with 2 different eras, 2 different generations. Anyways, I really got into wrestling. I will say what really spiked it for me as a kid is when John Cena returned at the Rumble. What Rumble was the again?
It was like 07, right after the
07, 08. It was his big return. He was injured. He came back. I think he ended up winning that Rumble.
At the Garden.
Oh, yeah, the one where he tore his back. Yeah.
Yes, yep. So that was the first thing that really got me into wrestling. I was a very big John Cena kid. Really loved what he did. I don't know why. It was just one of those things because that's where they really got into the PG era of things. So obviously I was a PG guy. I was like 10, 11. Jeez. So I like John Cena. And John Cena is true.
Wait a minute. I have to stop you. Wait a minute. The look of disdain on your face. Why?
Just wait until he's my manager.
It has nothing to do with John. I love Cena. It's just the age difference in hearing him talking about the PG era compared to when I tell my story in a few minutes, what got me into wrestling.
Sure. Okay.
I'm having flashbacks to the first time me and Chris talked about like pro wrestling. Mine was like 2007, 2008 is when I got into it. So like, I don't remember a whole lot. I remember like Cena and Batista and
exactly.
My first ever memory was watching The Undertaker and John Cena tag team on Raw. That was like the very first ever thing I remember watching pro wrestling.
You and I are almost in the same boat. We get it.
Exactly.
That's where we're coming from. That's what I grew up on. Legacy.
Oh my God.
That was me. And truthfully, I fell out of love with wrestling around like 13, 14, as usually most people do for a little bit. And then when I was about 17, 18, I started picking back up into it. 2 years ago. And that was like whenever Daniel Bryan was the Earth's champion. He had his own belt and everything.
Jesus.
That's when I started picking back up.
Wow.
Yes, that's when I started picking back up into it. And that's when I started really learning about the indies as well. Like I really didn't know what went outside of WWE. And that's when AEW had announced that they were going to start doing stuff too. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, there's a whole different world to wrestling out there. So I started watching all this stuff, and I was like, oh, my gosh, this is amazing. And it's truthfully what drew me towards it and why I'm here today doing what I do.
So we kind of end on the same note that how we got back into wrestling is around the same time and very similar. So he starts with Cena in the PG era. The first time I've ever watched wrestling, I remember the date, I remember the show, and the segment. It was December 6th, 2001. It was a SmackDown. Do you guys recall the Vince McMahon Kiss My Behind Club?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the first segment I ever saw was when The Rock turned it around on Vince, and he ended up making Vince kiss Rikishi's behind.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time I've ever seen wrestling. And for some reason, I was like, I kind of like this. And I've been watching wrestling ever since. I have a Rock tattoo on my leg. Project Rock is my favorite clothing line, so I have the Project Rock logo on my leg. Not a cheap plug or anything. Under Armour, Rock, Dwayne, anybody sees this, please. Size 12, size medium in clothes, size medium in shorts.
Come on, let's go.
I mean, your tattoo's on. Really
come on, dude. Come on, guys. You're friends with my cousin. Anyway, so that's how I started, and it just took off from there. You know, my cousins watched it. I had a lot of friends that watched it. We went to shows. My dad took us to as many shows as he could stand going to. Because it's not that he didn't like wrestling, but he just didn't. He knew about it. He didn't care for it. He only went because I went. And then right around when Punk left, I was like, I'm kind of out. I was in college when he left. You were probably still in diapers.
Probably, but that's the exact time that I fell out of it too.
So Punk left, and that kind of slowly started my decline to leave wrestling. And not that I ever got out of it. Like, I was at WrestleMania 29. I was at WrestleMania 35. Don't remember most of 35, but I was there for it.
I was there too. I was there too.
Hell yeah. Don't remember most of it.
I'll fill you in, don't worry.
We got there at 11 o'clock to pregame.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't miss much. Let me just tell you.
Yeah. So that's when I started to decline. And then ironically enough, when Cody left and he hit the Indies in New Japan is when I was like, oh, because I loved Cody. I always liked him. I was a big fan of his. I thought they never treated him well or used him well. This isn't, me kissing his behind because he's my coach. It's a true story. I've never told him this. I tell him every time we're on the show. he got me back into wrestling. When he went to New Japan, I started watching New Japan, and that's how I fell in love with the Bullet Club and Coda and just everybody over in New Japan. And then they started doing indies, and then I started to go to indies, and I was like, wow, this is really fun. Like meet and greets and meeting all these cool indie wrestlers who end up being on AEW or WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan, anything like that. So that's when I started to get back into it. And then, here we are. Now he's my coach.
Wow. Can I just say before we move on that y'all make me feel really, really old?
You're not that much older. You're only a couple years older than me.
You want me to tell you what my first memory of wrestling is? Watching Great American Bash 1990 that my dad recorded and watching Sting beat Ric Flair for his first world championship.
We watched that as film study in camp.
That's my earliest memory, and it wasn't too many years after that I watched it. Y'all make me feel old.
Wow. I mean, if it helps, it was like 4 years before I was born.
That really helps. Yes, makes me feel so good.
Hey, real quick, I noticed it before, didn't say anything. That Titans thing in the background. Hold on, let me get closer to the camera.
Wow.
That Titans thing in the background.
Hey, listen.
1 win in 3 years, and
at the end of the season, nobody's going to remember the only win that the Jets had when the Titans are, and then when the Titans are hosting a home playoff game and all that kind of stuff. Just saying.
Hey, I'll always remember.
Okay, well,
1-16 or
that's okay.
Whatever it is.
Listen, we just had to gift you something to remember and to hold on to. Okay.
Hey, I'm more than happy.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. You're welcome.
I had to bring it up.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a sore spot, but it's okay. We'll get back.
We're used to losing, so it's fine. One thing I wanted to jump back to real quick. It's just kind of like interesting how, especially like not throwing you out, Chris, but like our age generation all seemed to like fell off at the same time of like, because I remember I fell off when Punk left. Like Punk kind of brought me back in when he dropped the pipe bomb and everything, and then when he left, it was like, oh, this is kind of boring now. Until the Shield kind of blew up, and then that kind of slowly got my attention. But I watched more for them than I did for the product, and then Cody going to New Japan and Ring of Honor and Bullet Club and Adam Cole and the Young Bucks and all of that really is what started my love again for pro wrestling. So it's really cool to see like everybody has seemed to kind of go the same path in some ways of like fandom with pro wrestling over the years. It's really interesting to me that that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, Punk was everything to a wrestling fan because he was anti-establishment. He was like, I hate to say it because I grew up with Stone Cold, but like he's like our generation Stone Cold in a way.
Yeah, like he really made you connect with wrestling.
Yeah, and like he wasn't out there doing 450s and all this crazy stuff, but his matches were phenomenal. And then you give him the mic, and you're legitimately glued to the TV. There's promos he's cut where I remember most of them in college in my dorm. I had the one between him and Rock right before the Rumble when he said, "Come Sunday, your arms are just too short to box with God." That promo was in my room. I remember cutting that promo. His promo with Triple H when he was like, "This isn't CM Punk talking to Triple H. This is Phil Brooks talking to Paul Levesque." And I was like, "Oh, damn!" He's like, okay.
So it's so funny that you guys are talking. I'm letting you banter about your CM Punk because this is interesting because I too, as much of a wrestling fan as I've been my whole life, I too had a dark period and it was about 4 years. But my dark period happened when Shawn Michaels retired at WrestleMania 26, and I came back when Sting finally debuted in WWE. That's what so all that to say, I missed CM Punk.
Yeah,
everything that he was.
Yeah, so that's actually our roommate, Dean Alexander, who had a phenomenal match tonight on AEW Dark versus Too Fast, Too Fuego. He's a year older than you. He's going to be 35 in January. He's about the same thing. He missed all of Punk. Like, he fell out of love with wrestling for a while, and he missed all of Punk. So, like, he knows of Punk, but, like, doesn't really get, like, why we love him so much.
Yep.
And he kind of came back to wrestling. I think it was 31. Was that the one in Dallas?
No, 31 was
32.
Sting's only one.
32. So 32 is when he came back. So right around the same time as, like, you guys had to write the same exact time frame of when he fell out and when he came back. I think he actually stopped. watching when Stone Cold left, or maybe a little after that.
That would be 2003 is when Austin left.
It may have been like 2005. He like stopped.
Wow.
Came back to 32.
Wow. See, that for me, like Shawn Michaels is my all-time favorite wrestler. So like that era when he came back, that's when I was the most like glued in, because people my age, everybody often says, the Monday Night Wars are the best time in wrestling. And while I very much enjoyed channel surfing and seeing what Sting was doing to the NWO and what Austin was doing, my favorite time was the Ruthless Aggression era, because Shawn Michaels was back and he was, to me, at his best. So that's what I absolutely enjoyed the most.
So if you say that, because I just started going back, like around when the pandemic started, I started watching from the day I started watching again, like on the network and now Peacock.
Mm.
And I just got, like, I haven't watched it really too much lately, but the last show I watched was like 2 weeks after SummerSlam, after Triple H and Shawn had the no DQ match.
Yeah.
And like we're starting to build the Survivor Series, which Survivor Series 02 is my favorite pay-per-view of all time.
So good. Yeah, it's so good. If you guys are just now joining us, and I don't know how you're just now finding this fantastic show, but if you're just now stumbling on us, welcome to the Bite Bomb Wrestling Podcast. This is the show that is for the fans, by the fans. I am your host, Chris Belcher. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. Andy York, and our special guest tonight, Hunter Knott and Rosario Grillo, better known as TSF, the hottest, fastest rising tag team in the industry. We only have been at it for 7 months. Is that what we established?
Yeah, our first indie day was this. If this is not the Mayan calendar, then yes, 7 months.
7 months, and they've had some bangers. If you guys are unfamiliar with these guys, okay, quick plug. If our listeners or our viewers have not seen a TSF match, obviously go to AEW Dark and check them out. But if you really want them to see what you guys can do, recommend a match or two that they can find online pretty quickly.
Oof, there's so many good ones.
So I will say the upcoming CCW match, be on the lookout for that, because that's, like I said, by far our favorite one. I think a lot of people enjoy it too. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." So,
and yours truly is on commentary, so you need to check it out.
That's true, and that's very, very true. Why would you want to hear his beautiful voice?
And why we did the show? We just wanted to listen to you
all the time. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. It actually is this coming out next week?
This is coming out. Yes, this will be out next week.
It may be out.
I think so.
It may be out this upcoming week.
We'll all text Nellio and bug him. Okay, put that match up.
And what are some other ones?
I'd probably say our first CCW match against the Cha Cha Juggernauts. Also, that one was really fun too. Cha Cha it was so much fun just being in the ring with them. And that was our first time in CCW, and we had a really good time, and we loved coming there. So that's definitely one of them.
You can find a couple of our PCW matches on there as well. PCW, it's a smaller promotion out in Covington, Georgia. We put on a couple fun matches out there too, entertaining matches.
Jeez, there's so many. I mean, they're so good.
So good.
You'll be able to look at this next week. I believe it's coming out this week, so it should be out by then. Championship Wrestling from Atlanta. We had a match against the Washington Bullets. Wasn't our longest match, but it definitely was a good match at that.
You'll see a different side of TSF.
Yes, a whole different side of TSF.
Sweet.
If you just saw that in the corner, that's our cat, Kitty Omega.
Yes.
We did not name the cat. It was our roommate, Kat Spencer, who is also one of the fastest rising women's stars of pro wrestling who trained at the Nightmare Factory. It is her cat, but it is technically my cat.
Fantastic name.
She also had a dynamite match, no pun intended, at CCW that I got to call. So really, really good stuff from her as well. So yeah, absolutely. What a cat. My goodness. Okay, guys, I have to ask the obvious question, because I say that because I want fans to go look up TSF matches. I want our fans to be familiar with not only your guys' story like you've been telling here, but what you guys do in the ring. If people haven't seen you guys, again, you've only been in the business for 7 months. So all eyes going to be on TSF. But the real question that I have, I know you guys would be rich and retire if you had $1 for every time you've been asked this. But I have to ask, what does TSF stand for?
I knew it. Last night we were at practice. We were sitting on one of the rings, and one of the new kids in camp just looks over we've not really talked to him too much. He just goes, "Hey, what is TSF mean?" I'm like, "Hey, this jabroni wants to know what TSF means."
Hey, that stupid fool.
That stupid fool wanted to know.
I don't know. What does it mean, man? Two sexy friends?
So listen, full disclosure, I've already asked this question. I asked it at CCW, and I am asking this for our listeners' perspective, I guess. So don't fault me.
Yeah, no, I think our favorite explanation is actually it's a Halloween edition. And Halloween, it's a great time of year. Everybody, dressed up in costumes.
Spooky and whatnot.
You have hoodies. You have t-shirts. You have t-shirts.
T-shirts. Right?
You have t-shirts.
Oh my gosh.
That are available
at what is it? www.prowrestlingtees.com /
what is it? Tag TSF. And here it is. Whoa.
Look at that.
Two spooky fellas.
Two spooky fellas.
While you're browsing on that store, my friend.
What else is available?
You can find this shirt. Death, taxes, TSF, our slogan.
The only guarantees in life.
And if you get it, you get it.
Dude, that shirt's fire.
That shirt's fire. Dude.
What are the shirts for sale?
ProWrestlingTees.com /PBW podcast. You can pick yourself up a Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast t-shirt.
There you go. Hey,
there you go.
Hey, while you're there, Pro Wrestling Tees, Dean Alexander, get this beautiful shirt. Pro Wrestling Tees, Kat-Spencer, get her beautiful shirt.
Support indie wrestlers.
That's it.
And support your favorite podcasts.
Yes. That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
But yes, and,
I think my favorite.
Going back a little bit to what you said about like our matches and stuff like that. And if fans want to follow us as well, our social medias are at HKnott12 and
I flashed it up on the screen. You guys check that out. Right, so there it is.
And we try to stay active on social media. We try to have a fun time with fans, stuff like that. So if you want to get a good laugh in, come see what we're doing, come see what we're up to. And also follow Wrestle House on YouTube.
So
as well.
We post a weekly episodic show.
Getting there. Yep.
Yeah, Wrestle House. We'll talk about that in a second, but we actually post some of our clips from our matches on episodes. But we also post, like he said, on our social media, some clips from matches. So if you want to see it, if there's any matches that fans want to see, just hit us up. We'll send you some recommendations.
No, let's talk about it now. Since you mentioned it, I stumbled upon, I think, the latest episode, and you got tied up in a trunk. What happened with? Please explain this.
It's a thing for the Sammy Guevara vlog. I know I'm promoting Gene's shirt, but he's not really nice to me. He kind of kidnapped me.
It's funny. We actually had a match that day, and I was waiting for him to come. He said, "I'll be there in 15 minutes." And
that wasn't me.
What happened?
I was in the trunk. You didn't see the video.
So we texted.
Dean? We had a match?
Anyways, I didn't end up wrestling. I had to go home. I was very mad.
But yeah, if you watched last week's 2 weeks ago's Sammy Guevara episode, and last week's, and this week's, and next week's, I get tied up in the trunk.
Just watch the same again.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So there's that. My friends aren't really nice to me.
Oh gosh! Now that I know that it's on there, one of my best friends is a big fan of Sammy's vlog, so I'm going to make sure that I'll shout you guys out and make sure he's like, "Hey, that guy." Yeah. But also the other thing that I saw on that is a toy hunt.
Yes.
We talked about toys before we started recording. Where did this love for toys come from? Obviously, I was going to ask, is it just one of you or both of you, whatever? But I do want to know. That's something that a lot of people my age, at least, again, dating myself a little bit, but I'm not too much older than you, are really we're really into collecting things right now. And I think the pandemic really forged us ahead with that. So with toy collecting, is it just something you've done all the time? What do you collect? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it probably started when I was a kid. I still love Power Rangers. So I collected all of them. And it started mainly because of my cousin Tony. He's like my older brother. I wanted to, follow him and do everything he did. So he liked Power Rangers. I like Power Rangers. So that's how I started. And then I kind of never really stopped, which is not good for my bank account or my parents' house.
Amen.
I'm full with my stuff and my stuff here too. But yeah, it kind of kept going. My dad is a giant collector. He collects Hot Wheels, only Mustangs exclusively. He collects pretty much anything vintage Batman. He loves Batman and Funko Pops. And that's actually how I started getting into Funko Pops. He bought me my first 3 Power Rangers course, and the look on your face is like you tuned out.
Just not when you're ready.
So, not when you're ready. Yeah, I started collecting Funko Pops, and then I had way too many, and I stopped. And then the new Power Ranger line came out, and I started collecting those heavy. And I do sports memorabilia too, so like Sidney Crosby autographed jersey because I'm a Penguins fan, and I have so much sports memorabilia. But yeah, it never really stopped. And then probably before the pandemic, like I would just spend so much time on eBay and Amazon. I started trying to finish some collections, like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I was trying to get all the main figures and all the main Zords. And then I did that, and I was like, I can go to Zeo now. And I did that, and I was like, I can go to Turbo now. And I was like, okay, I got to stop. Like, there's 25 seasons. I'm going to be screwed at some point. But now, yeah, it's just, I don't work during the days. It's just training a lot. So most of the time, you'll find me at a Target or a Walmart or a local toy shop. Like today, I collect Pokemon cards again now too. I used to do that a lot, and now I started doing it again. And a lot of my friends, I found out so many people besides him are nerds in wrestling. Half the school that we train with are all nerds, and I love it. So I started collecting again, and a couple of my friends collect as well. So the new Pokemon Celebration set came out, and if you don't collect cards, Pokemon ETBs are like the training box that comes with a whole bunch of different packs. I found, what was it?
I'm learning too.
15 of them today. Like I hunted literally all day long. Like I had the greatest day of hunting. And like I gave them to my friends who they collect their kids or they collect them themselves. So like mainly they went to them, but like I kept some stuff myself.
So it's
yes. Okay.
It's funny that you mentioned that because like I listened today to Adam Cole on AEW Unrestricted podcast. Bye. I listened to that interview, and he was talking about his hobby of playing video games and how it's a healthy obsession for him, so he doesn't constantly think about wrestling. So to me, that's you guys are nodding your head, so I assume that that's the way you feel about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Him video games, me video games too. Not as well. Definitely not right now. Which sucks. I just got a PS5 and Madden, so that's really fun. But yeah, I think that's that's part of it. It's
definitely for me. Because growing up, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But growing up, like we just kind of got thrown into all the technology. Like I was 10 and the Xbox 360 came out. Like I think 2 years before.
Guys.
Well, when I was 10, I got my first Xbox 360, and with my Xbox 360, I was so graciously and blessed enough to get Call of Duty Black Ops. So at 10 years old, getting thrown into that little era. I want to say it was almost like a stress management type of thing. Like you go to school, you have all this homework, you're doing all your stuff, you have everything else going on with life, you get stressed out.
Sure.
To me, my little way out, literally, my way out was Xbox. So I'd get on there late at night with my friends. We'd sit up there and talk to like 3 a.m. just playing all these games. So that was my way out of the world.
Listen, I grew up with video games that were not online. Okay.
Oh.
Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis.
Hey, you guys didn't have internet?
Shut up.
No. No.
It's funny you say that. My first video game console was the Sega Genesis, and I still have it to this day. And when I moved down here, I brought it with me. And Jen and I, we were playing it the other day, and he walked in and just goes, "What the hell is this?" And I was like, "Dude, this is like the greatest technology from when I was a kid." I think we were playing the Mortal Kombat 2, the second Mortal Kombat ever made. And he was just like, "What are you guys doing?" Like, what do you mean we're doing? What are there, like 2 buttons on that controller? Yeah, man, that's all you need. A, B.
Right.
Wow. I think my first gaming system was like a PlayStation 2. So like it's.
Oh my God.
Like I said,
it was like a PlayStation 2, and then it was like the PSP, which like blew my mind that I could like
I did
have this amazing thing in my hand. But yeah, that's about
he
it.
He is about to lose his mind.
So Hunter, wait.
It's not the first time.
Okay, have you?
Hunter, you and Andy can do your own.
Okay,
that's it.
Yeah, that works.
Hunter, have you ever played or ever even heard of Duck Hunt?
No, so I shouldn't say I don't. I really do. I'm just playing along. I do know my grandmother My grandmother had a old SNES system.
Okay,
like,
okay.
64, like Super Mario 64 and all that stuff.
Okay, thank the Lord.
I do know stuff. I had to blow on the cartridges every once in a while to make it work. So I do know how it works.
Do you know it says don't do that right on the cartridge?
Really?
Yeah. None of us took that warning, but right.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's the only way it works.
Well, it works for me too. But yeah, I do know this stuff. My generation is like Xbox 360, Xbox One now, and all the newer stuff.
I just find it so stinking hilarious. Like a buddy texted me a meme today that said, one of those, tell me your age without telling me your age. And the answer was, I'm old enough to know when video games could only be played on channel 3. I'm like, yes, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Oh man. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Andy, what you got, man? Sorry, I'm totally stealing your thunder.
No, you're good. You're good. My kind of question would be like, what kind of going back to wrestling a little bit.
Yeah, let's steer this shit back. Sorry.
No, we're good. But
way.
One of the things that's always like fascinated me the most about Cody is how like grounded his pro wrestling is, because he's not like the kind of guy that does like 450s or anything crazy like that. So what kind of things did he teach you specifically about like keeping pro wrestling grounded and the realism? Because one of my favorite AEW matches is him and Dustin, and just how like real that match was. What kind of things did he teach you about the like keeping it real in pro wrestling?
So going through the 3-month camp, the main things that are drilled into our brains are the fundamentals. They teach you how to chain. They teach you a body slam. They teach you a suplex. They teach you a Russian leg sweep. They teach you all these grounded moves that make wrestling what it is. They're not teaching us 450s. They're not teaching us Phoenix splashes. They're not doing all that flippy stuff. They're teaching us how to wrestle. So I think that was Cody's brain, and I think that's partially QT's as well, because QT is very much so the same way. QT believes in put them on the ground and pin them. That's how wrestling is. So they're going to teach you the fundamentals and how to successfully do that. Now, obviously, wrestling has evolved today. You see a lot more people going to the top rope and doing these things. I personally am very scared to do that. I tried it once and broke my toe. So I will never be doing that, at least anytime soon. But I do believe truthfully that they have the right mindset. We kind of, as a tag team, adapt to that as well. And we try to introduce some new stuff too. But for the most part, we teach or we use what they taught us, and that's keeping them on the ground and pinning them.
Yeah, we're very FTR-ish in that sense. No flips, just fists. Although I do a frog splash, but that's because
no flippy stuff.
Eddie's my favorite wrestler of all time. So that's kind of an homage to him. That's why I have the flames on my tights. That for him, and I have underneath my tights, I have the EG armband, which I had for the longest time. I had the original one for the longest time. I lost it at an indie show, and immediately when I lost it, I was like, "Oh, I'm blowing my ACL out tonight. Like I'm so screwed." Thank God I didn't. But then by the time I had the next show, Kat had actually bought me a new one, so I have that with me at every show. Cool. The only time I've ever done a crazy move on top was a moonsault in practice. One day we decided like a mess around day in practice. Cody taught us how to do the crossroads. Cannot do it. Almost broke Dean's nose. Sorry about that. But I did do a moonsault off the top rope. It was quite literally the scariest moment of my life. You're standing, you're so high in the air looking at the ground like, oh, I'm going to hit my head right there. But I did it, and I was like, hey, that's awesome. Never going to do it again. I tried to do a standing one. I broke my toe as well. So you'll never see TSF doing moonsault.
And that's something else that comes with it. You got to think of all the injuries to yourself that could happen by doing crazy stuff.
Speaking of injuries to yourself, that's a perfect segue. If you are watching us on bodyslam.net, one of these two fine gentlemen is sporting a cast on his right arm.
Mr. Casto here.
Mr. Cast, will you please inform us? Because I saw a video online yesterday. It was a very passionate promo by one Mr. Grillo. But tell us about the arm and what happened and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, so last January, I met up with a couple friends at a local gym, and we were playing some pickup basketball and playing defense. I went for a steal, and I thought I had jammed my thumb. It was a typical sign of a jammed thumb, all that pain and swelling. Like, you could still move it, but like, oh, this is definitely jammed. Nope, turns out I tore the ligament in my thumb. So that was a lengthy recovery. I had surgery. I was in a cast. Had to go through therapy for it. That was really fun. And I start training, my father was like, hey, probably should wrap that up. And I was like, no, it's fine. It'll be fine. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's fine. Fast forward to last Monday. In practice, we were doing a match, took a clothesline, and as I bumped, I was like, oh, that was a pop. Looked at my hand, and I was like, oh, that's my thumb. Finished the match, got out, black and blue, swollen. I knew immediately. I was like, oh, this is torn. Like, I did it all over again. Went to the doctor, took an x-ray. Like, there's no fracture, but, like, that's a good thing, but it's also not a bad – like, it's also not the best thing because, like, something else is probably wrong. Went to the doctor yesterday. He was like, it's definitely not broken, but it's probably torn or severely sprained. He's like, we can't get you in an MRI for a couple days. He's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, can you put me in a cast? He was like, well, can you wrestle? And I was like, yeah, if you put me in a cast, I'll be able to wrestle. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, if it's completely torn, we're going to have to do surgery. And I was like, we'll see about that. And I was like, if I can't wrestle, man, that's a problem. So just put me in the cast. We're going to Bob Orton this thing. We're going to Undertaker this thing. We're going to Owen Hart it. We're going to Dr. Britt Baker it. We're going to put Eddie Guerrero 01 after the Radicals.
It's great because, I mean, it's almost like this is definitely not a blessing because we will definitely not be using this in the match. Right?
No. TSF will never use this thing to give their opponents the skull fracture.
No.
Never.
The skull fracture?
Never.
Oh, my gosh.
We're such fine, extraordinary gentlemen.
We're wrestlers.
Yeah.
So why would we use such an illegal object?
I
believe it.
I would rather cut my arm off than use this in a match.
We would never.
No, I would never. I would never hide anything in this cast
We're the
either and
nicest
then
of
take
guys.
it out and hit them with it later in the match.
No,
We're such sweet fellas. The sweet
The
fellas.
sweet
That's
fellas.
what they call us. The sweet
Two
fellas.
sweet fellas. Not two stupid fellas like you told me
never,
I could call
never,
it. No.
Those
No,
stupid
no.
fellas. Not too stupid fellas.
I got you. Okay. Well, glad that you cleared that up. Hunter, I want to ask you about something as we kind of get ready to wind down here. We got a couple more questions. This has been a blast, by the way. These guys will be back on our podcast sooner rather than later because, as you can tell, we're having so much fun. Hunter, I want to ask you something. We were talking pre-CCW show, running through some commentary things. Hey, what do you want us to get in? What do you want to talk about? Long walks on the beach, blah, blah, blah. And you mentioned something that I did not get into commentary. I don't think we'll find out when we go back and watch the match. I don't think I got it in, but I think this is a perfect platform to ask you about it.
Mhm.
You mentioned some scars on your shoulder
Yes.
from a fire that you were in.
Yes.
Tell us that story because I'm sure that there's somebody out there that needs to hear it.
I had a run in GCW about 2 years. I'm kidding.
I would not be shocked.
A lot of light tubes, it'll get to you.
Big
Anyways,
John Moxley guy over here.
Big deathmatch guy here. Just kidding. I mean, this stupid idiot got us into a street fight next
This
month.
stupid
All right,
fellow.
well, let me focus on the question. So, freshman year of high school. This is completely on me. I wear this with 100%. Hey, it's my fault. Freshman year, my mom was having a bonfire. Nice little fire. Had my friends over. We're playing football. Football gets tossed over the fire. Okay, I'm gonna go get it. Trip right into the fire. Literally, that's as simple as the story goes. There's no rhyme or reason else to why it happened. Got very bad burns. Ended up going to the ER, and I was like, as your face, that was my mom's exact face. Because I looked at her and I was like, this is nothing but my fault. This is only my fault. But yes, and I was 14, 15 at the time. So obviously as I grew, they grew with me. So yes, big deathmatch guy. A lot of light tubes.
But to make light of this, we received a tweet today from our friend Carly Bravo. So keep in mind, scars on the back, cast on the hand. He goes, this is TSF at the moment. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh my gosh.
Kane and Undertaker with the cast. And then Hunter was so good at Photoshop, was able to Photoshop our faces onto it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Big
Andy-
brothers of
Andy-
destruction up here.
Andy, we have truly invited two stupid fellows on this podcast.
I don't. No, I like it. No,
That's great. I love it. That's fantastic. Andy, you got anything else before I wrap up with a question or two?
yeah, I'll ask the most basic question probably anybody ever asked pro wrestlers in
Perfect.
an interview. But whether it's singles or tag team, what's like a dream opponent that you would like to get in the ring with one day?
So that's actually not a basic question because I feel like the more people ask us this, the more our answers change.
We probably have Like we have the same answer, I believe.
For tag team?
For tag team, absolutely. FTR.
Yeah, FTR. 100%.
Yeah.
And that's not to discredit like the Bucks. Obviously, that's the coolest match in the world. Too Fast, Too Fuego.
Yeah.
Too Fast, Too Fuego. Don't duck us again.
Hey, who was Fuego too?
I don't know, but I feel like we have his phone number and he shouldn't duck us again.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, FTR has. I mean,
we've learned a lot from them.
So much.
Watching their matches in NXT, and everything else that they're doing in AEW now today. We've just learned so much from them and how they are as a tag team wrestling. Like their chemistry. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Literally, like I couldn't find the word professors, gurus.
I'll say gurus.
But yeah, literally, like everything they do is so perfect.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff we take, not necessarily take move for move and everything, but we try to adapt, make it TSF's own little spin, TSF style.
That's how we
like
wrestle.
to call it.
It's not old school. It's not new school. It's TSF.
It's TSF style. So yes, they are a great influence on us. It would be a dream to get into the ring with them one day.
Singles for me. I mean, I guess we touched on it before. You know, we can do an Undertaker versus Undertaker spot. Me versus Gargano. That'd be so much fun. I feel like we could do the whole like the mirror thing. That would be really cool to me. I would love to work him. Cody, QT.
Yeah, that's
those Alan Angels. Those are probably like top 4 for singles.
QT would probably be my main singles guy. He, like I said too, we learned a lot from him. Like he kind of just took us under his wing. He showed us a lot of what he has done. So it would be a dream to work him too.
That's awesome. Rosario, you mentioned your favorite wrestler earlier, Eddie Guerrero. Hunter, who's your all-time favorite wrestler?
So you're gonna hate it.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna have so this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do present Hunter's answer, and we're gonna do 2010 Hunter's answer. Okay, is that okay?
I'm cool with that.
So 2010 Hunter is gonna say John Cena. As cliche as it is, he had it. He had a lot of fans. Yeah. So I was personally a fan of his, obviously being a kid. Today, Malachi Black. I'm a really big fan of Malachi Black's work. I told you this before.
I don't remember you telling me that.
We've done many other interviews, and
I've never once remembered you saying Malachi Black.
Malachi Black, currently. I really like his style. I like his gimmick that he's doing. I like the story that he tries to tell in his wrestling, and not just his wrestling, but his character as well. I think he really has it as well, and I like the way that he produces things and what he creates.
I'll put you on the spot one more time. Both of your guys is not that you've been involved with, but what's your favorite match of all time?
So it's tough to pick an actual one because I had like mine are for different reasons.
Okay.
Punk Taker at 29. I was there, and I genuinely, to this day, I still believe Punk should have won, and I thought he was going to win then. Eddie Brock, No Way Out, when he won the title.
Yep.
Goosebumps still to this day. And we said it before, Gargano and Andrade. NXT Philadelphia. Favorite live match. For some reason, like I can't go back and watch the same match multiple times just because like I know the spots, I know what's gonna happen. That match I will watch 100 times over and pop for everything they do.
It's fantastic. It's good stuff. Hunter?
So mine, probably not gonna like it again. One of my ones is probably Cena Rock the first time they went around. I thought that was a really big moment. Like you're Rock Austin. Okay, you're Rock Austin. Okay, cool. I had Rock Cena, so that was my big match when I was younger. I really enjoyed that one.
Man.
Going back, 2 or 3 falls between DIY and the Revival. Really, really, really like that match. That match is great.
We've watched that so many times.
Literally, we learned a lot from that match. Good. And just recently, I was a really big fan of the Kenny Bryan match. I was a really big fan of that match. I think they went 30 minutes of nonstop good wrestling.
Yep.
And I think they just killed it. So I was really invested. I didn't look at my phone once during that match. So yeah, I'd put that up there too.
Honorable mention, Cody versus Nick Aldis at All In. I was there for that. Absolutely insane.
I was there for the rematch at the NWA 70 show that they did 2 out of 3 falls in Nashville. Andy was there with me. Yeah, they fought through the crowd right in front of us. It was sweet.
Yeah, cool story about Chicago. So I went there All In. 3 years later, him and I got to wrestle in the same building all that weekend.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? That's such a full circle. That's so cool, man. Like that's like me in a past life, not really past life, just a few years ago, I moved to Nashville to play drums. That was my original goal, career path, whatever. And there were many venues that I walked into as an up and coming musician, like, listen, I just want to play here. Like, let me play here. And then come full circle, I got to play at a couple of those places. So I totally get it from that kind of perspective. As we're talking full circle here, again, you guys have only been at this for 7 months, and you've talked about you shared the ring with Cody, with QT, with Glacier, and you've done all these things. You've been on Dark, and you've got to travel, wrestle at All Out Weekend, just things that guys in the wrestling business who have been in it way longer than you have only dream about doing. Yes. And you've been able to do it in the first 7 months of your career.
And we're very fortunate and very blessed to be able to have done those things.
I was going to say, number one,
don't take anything that we've done for granted.
Right. Number one, kudos to you guys. I mean, holy cow. Not to have you put yourself over or pat yourself on the back or sound conceited or anything, but this fast rising success, what do you guys attribute it to?
I 100% coaching.
Yes.
Like we wouldn't be nowhere without the Nightmare Factory. And that it goes beyond the actual coaches. Like, he's wearing a Darian Bankston shirt. Darian, if you don't know who he is, for the love of God, find his Twitter, find his matches. He is phenomenal.
He's helped us
so much. Dean Alexander, roommate, helped us so much. Kat Spencer helped us out so much. There's so many people. Our Austin and Luke, Southeast SWAT team, they have helped us phenomenally. So that, like, the school as a unit.
That's one thing. And onto the school, too, the amount of training we've been doing. We've been working our butts off, like I said earlier. We're constantly in the gym. We're constantly at training, learning new stuff. We're just trying to get better. We're out here doing shows almost every weekend.
Wrestling with one hand.
Literally, like one hand, freaking any other thing you can think
I'm going to be in, what's the town called on Thursday? I'm going to be in Tennessee on Thursday.
Yeah.
I forgot which show. I think the promotion is 127.
Yes, 127 Wrestling.
127 Wrestling.
I don't know.
I don't think it's too far from Nashville. Grimsley?
I don't know where that is.
I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like it's far from Nashville.
Grimsley, Tennessee. I'll be there this week doing a match. Hunter, unfortunately, cannot accompany me, but I will be there wrestling with one arm. So that, and just our peer, like our chemistry, like people, like when they see us, they just assume like, oh, you guys have known each other for forever. We've only known each other for 13 months. Yeah. We met not even probably a year. We probably didn't really talk until the beginning of October of camp, and we ended up living together through camp, and now we live together here. So we're always around each other, always bouncing ideas off each other, always sending each other matches, sending each other spots. Like last night on the way home from practice, we were kind of just talking about like, what's the next shirt design, what's the next this, and at the exact same time, we both said an idea. We're not going to say yet, but we had the exact same idea, and it wasn't like that's obvious. It was a wild, random thought that we both said at the exact same time. We were like, "Oh my god, that's it! Like we're doing that." How did we both
awesome.
do that? And like even at night, like we'll just be hanging out, and Kat would be like, "What are you thinking about?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to think about a new spot for me and Hunter." She's like, "I can see in your face, like you're just like you're zoned out, and you're clearly thinking about something so hard." Like, yeah. Sorry. So I'm trying to think of a new spot for us to do.
Yeah, we're just always thinking, always trying to be creative, always trying to think of new things that we can do to entertain people.
And again, coaching.
Yeah. Well, and I think also too, just especially from that answer and the almost hour that we've been talking, one thing that I will say that got you guys where you are, and I've only met you once, and this is our second time talking, you guys are sponges. You really soak everything up. And like you said, you're blessed, you're humble, you don't take anything for granted, but you also soak up. I can tell with everything that you guys do. You're sponges for the wrestling business, and from an outsider looking in, that's what it takes.
Yeah, and honestly, this stuff like this too helps us a lot. Like, not only does it help us get our name out there, but it just helps our chemistry more and more.
Literally in our communication skills, just getting able to talk to you guys for however long and just bouncing ideas off of each other, learning new stuff from other people that we get to talk to.
And like half the time we're just talking about wrestling anyway, so we might as well throw a mic and a camera in front of us and just have fun.
Exactly. Andy, you got anything else before we get ready to wrap up, man?
Not off the top of my head, I will say I think part of the success is you two guys are very charismatic guys, and like you guys said, bounce back and forth off of each other. How long did it take for that to kind of, was it like instant, or did it take some time to develop, or was it like right away you knew you had something special?
So if you go back and watch our showcase match we had the match early December.
Yeah.
Early December, it aired January, like first or second week in January. If you go back and watch that match, we were very move to move. You won't really see any character work of TSF because we weren't TSF yet. Yeah. We didn't know what TSF was. But when we moved back down,
we still don't.
Literally, we do. You don't. But yeah, when we moved back down here, we started taking indie bookings. Like I said, in March. After a couple of shows, we started really getting the hang of it, and out of nowhere, it was just kind of like that.
Yeah, like our friendship was like that.
Yeah,
we connected immediately. We're very much the same person in every aspect, which is weird because you would think like, oh, we wouldn't even get along, but we do so well. But yeah, I remember after our first showcase match, people came up to us and were like, "Are you guys going to keep doing this? Like, do what? Like, are you guys going to keep tagging together?" And we're like, "We don't know yet. Like, we're thinking about it." And they're like, "If you guys keep doing what you're doing, you will have so much success. Like, that was your first ever match. That was unbelievable. This should not have been that good." And like watching it back now, like, we hate it just because we hate every match we do. Like, if we go back, I haven't watched the CCW match yet. After wrestling it, I was like, "Oh, my favorite match of all time." After I go back and watch it, I'm probably I suck. So yeah, our friendship chemistry was like that. But then even when we moved back, it was, well, do we want to do singles? Do we want to do tag? Do we want to be face? Do we want to be heel? What do we want to do? And then I think like we were trying stuff and it wasn't really working. And then one day we were just like, let's just be ourselves. Like, everyone loves us before we wrestle. So why don't we just bring that in the ring and just turn it up to 10? That's one thing they always taught us. It's like, the best characters in wrestling are you turned all the way up.
Yep.
This is who we are. And you guys have seen it inside and outside of the ring. This is just TSF.
Yep. And I'll tell you this much, like the match that I got to call at CCW, if you would have told me, hey, these two guys that just won this match and just tore the house down, they've only been in the business for 6 months, I would have said, you've got to be kidding me. Like, are you joking?
Thank you. That means a lot.
But like, and that's no BS. Like, that just, again, it goes to show your chemistry, your dedication to the craft, all those kind of things. Okay, your heads are getting so big, you're getting off the screen here, so I'm gonna quit talking good about you.
Oh, I would keep going. Hey, so here, I actually have a question for the both of you.
Okay, shoot.
Out of everything that you have collection-wise, what's your favorite item that you both have?
Oh, this is fun. Andy, go first.
I don't know. The arc reactor I have right here. My now wife gave it to me on our 1-year anniversary of us dating. So that one's pretty special. I don't know, probably either that or I actually have a sold out. It's like the Fiend Funko Pop because I'm a big Funko Pop guy too, and they like sold out very quickly, so I had to pre-order it, and that came in. So that's probably one of those two things are probably my big collector's things.
Was that the one that came out after he got fired, or is this before?
Before, it's like right after he debuted.
Because there's one I know there's one coming out next month.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's a Christmas one coming out. And
yes,
like, he's already fired. Yeah. That one's got to be a watch.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, I would say it's between the Shawn Michaels belt that's behind me. It's the only replica championship belt that I own. It's the signature series that WWE Shop came out with. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is stupid. This is stupid." I love this thing. I think it's fantastic.
I love one. I would love to get that one day, but it's so expensive.
Yeah. I was blessed to be able to grab that one. And then the other thing would be the 3 plaques of the 3 big wrestling events that I've been to that has pieces of the canvas in it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've got one from WrestleMania 34, 35, and this past SummerSlam in Vegas. So just because as a kid, like you said, I'm with you. Like, my dad liked wrestling, but he took us because we loved it.
Yeah.
But being from small town Eastern Kentucky, I really didn't get access to go to like big events. So WrestleMania 34 was my first. So that was still, when I think about it, it was like a dream weekend for me.
Oh yeah.
So those pieces to me, it just holds a special place.
Yeah, I have that, but for All In, I have the canvas autographed by Cody and the Bucks. I'll send you a picture after we get off there. But I have this giant All In display, like poster signed by them, 8x10.
That's cool.
That's so awesome.
Big
cool.
collector as we've ever seen. All right, last question for me at least. Andy, favorite Marvel movie, and I guess Chris, you too. Sorry to take.
Man.
No, listen, I'll start because I don't have one. I'm not a Marvel guy.
DC?
I know.
Nope, none. Not me. Sorry, sorry to disappoint. Andy, go for it.
Not just because your cousins are in them, but honestly, like Civil War and Winter Soldier are two of my favorite Marvel movies. And then probably Infinity War, just because of how shocking the ending was and how unexpected everything was. It was just, I still remember like being in the theater and just people crying as they were leaving, being shocked. So things like that. It was just moments like being in the theater makes it more enjoyable for me. So things like that. But probably those three movies are my favorites.
That's awesome. Okay, throw it back to you guys. What about you guys?
So mine probably has to be the Spider-Man. Both of the Spider-Man movies. If you can see, I have a Spider. What's the theme? Like, I have a Spider-Man tattoo.
There we go.
Yeah, I love Spider-Man. So Homecoming and Far From Home, love them.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Frank.
I like the Deadpool movies.
Yeah,
I'm a big Deadpool guy. Listen. So I watch Marvel movies. Like I've seen a majority of them, but I'm not I'm not big into them.
Yep.
Like I never sat down and watched them all chronologically, whatever your order you're supposed to watch them in. But Deadpool was funny. I like Deadpool.
I'm with you. I just can't do it. All right. Last question. What's next for TSF? Like, I know you guys have bookings. I know you guys have, stuff that you're doing, but what's next?
What isn't next for TSF?
Yeah.
We're currently trying, literally, it's to rocket straight to the moon. Anyways, we're trying to go as many places as we can go. Wherever you're at in the United States, we're trying to be there. That is our goal for the rest of this year and truthfully probably for 2022 as well. Just try to work as many places as we can across the United States and anywhere else we can get to. Maybe you'll see us in Canada. Maybe you'll see us overseas one day.
That one might happen. It's the Canada one. Like he said, we're literally trying to go anywhere and everywhere. As many places as we can go. If anyone needs a phenomenal tag team, you got one right here.
And right here, check on the screen if you're watching on bodyslam.net, book.tsf1@gmail.com.
There it is. Yeah, we do have a few matches upcoming. As we mentioned before, PCW is a show in Covington, Georgia. We have 2 shows with them. It's the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month. We will be back in Nashville for CCW on November 20th.
Yeah, this idiot got us into a street fight.
He said country roads. I didn't hear street fight after that.
What do you think? It was going to be a ring in the middle of the street?
No, I thought he said country roads. I thought they were going to play country roads while we were wrestling. I figured that would throw us off.
that's a great idea for a match, by the way.
Stupid idiot.
You really? TSF, you had to go stupid idiot?
You stupid idiot.
We have that on the 20th. What? Oh, Jesus. And then I'm trying to look at the Mayan calendar right now. I believe we're going to be at Championship Wrestling from Atlanta on November 7th. That's a Sunday. Oh, and GPW in Jasper, Georgia on November 13th. And and this Thursday I will be in Grimsley, Tennessee for 127 Pro Wrestling.
Like mentioned earlier too, if you just keep up to date with our social medias, we'll put out wherever we'll be. As soon as we know, you guys will know. We like to cut promos. We like to do all that fun stuff. So follow us for the ride too.
Follow Wrestle House for the ride too. It's just a little vlog we do every week, doing our journey throughout wrestling.
There you go. And I'm flashing that up on the screen for those of you who are watching. But if you're listening, at HKnott12 and at JGrillo23, make sure you follow them. Again, book.tsf1@gmail.com. And please support the guys on Pro Wrestling Tees. I know that it would mean the world to them. If you are watching this show and you saw the shirts that they flashed up earlier, they're going to flash them up one more time, and I'm going to full screen them so you can see it. You can get those shirts as well as many more. ProWrestlingTees.com / is it tag TSF? Is that right?
It's tag TSF.
There you go. That's it. So make sure you guys support the show there. Guys, I can't thank you enough for doing the show. This was
thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
The both
us.
of you. Thank you so much.
And any of our fans that came out to watch us today, make sure you follow these guys as well. They're doing great things on this channel. It was a pleasure doing this podcast.
So much fun. It's probably the longest one we've done and one of the most fun interviews we've had.
There we go. That's it. So just make sure that you come check us out as well at PBW Podcast. Guys, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Man, I cannot say enough about that interview with TSF. Andy, that was, oh my gosh. I can't, man, I don't have words. That was honestly, that was so much fun.
Yeah, they're definitely two charismatic guys that you can tell they love pro wrestling, and they're doing really big and great things right now. So definitely go check them out. Definitely, if they're in your area, I would suggest buying a ticket just to see them. So definitely check them out.
Listen, I would not continue to say that they had the best match on the show that I called if I didn't mean it. I'm telling you, guys, go check them out. Just look them up on YouTube. Again, AEW Dark Elevation, all that kind of stuff. They are there. Make sure you check them out. That was so much fun. Oh my gosh. So more interviews coming your way on the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast sooner rather than later. In fact, I believe we have one scheduled for next Monday as well. We'll plug that coming up later this week, tell you who that's going to be, to make sure that you tune in once we get all that confirmed. But in the meantime and in between time, make sure you check out bodyslam.net's YouTube channel, where you can find all of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast episodes on video. Woo! I can't talk. Take a shot. So make sure you check it out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notifications bell. That way you know every time we upload an episode. And don't forget, don't be a stranger to all the other shows that are over there. Some great stuff happening on bodyslam.net. You might even see your boys from the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast pop up on a website a time or two. Support those guys. Make sure you check out the news over there. Bodyslam.net is your place. SportsWire Radio as well is where you can also check out the audio version of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you do that every Monday and Wednesday. Our shows will be premiering. And make sure you follow Thomas Bryce on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PBW Podcast. That way you'll know when our shows are airing on the radio station. Andy, we're everywhere. It's a great time to be supporting the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast.
It's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun. The work is picked up, but it's enjoyable, and it's just a great journey to be on. So definitely support everyone, support the entire system. Pro wrestling is in probably the greatest spot it's been in a long time, and we're definitely benefiting from it. So it's a blast going on this journey, man.
It also gets really busy when we both leave our laptops somewhere and we don't have access to them. What a week it's been, ladies and gentlemen. We are just getting started. Make sure you follow us at BBW Podcast. As we mentioned earlier, buy a t-shirt, prowrestlingtees.com/PBW Podcast. Make sure you go back and follow TSF on all of their social media platforms. Buy a t-shirt from them too. I know that they would appreciate it. Shipping is cheaper when you buy more than one shirt. So buy one of theirs, buy one of ours. It's a good deal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he is Andy York. He is at Andy_PBWP. I am Chris Belcher. My social media is at Chris Belcher24. The show is at PBW Podcast. And we are out of time on this Monday edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. We will catch you guys down the road.